And then I got hit by a truck. One of the first things the occupational therapist wanted me to do was to start wearing regular clothes again. I know I had heard this all through nursing school. Oh, it'll make the patient feel so much better. And I thought, they're in a hospital. I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference. The gown gives you easier access to everything. I didn't have any clothes because my husband didn't know if he should pack any. He didn't know if I would be living. So the occupational therapist went through their giveaway closet and found me some oversized t-shirts and shorts. After she put them on, I have to say, it really did make a difference. That day when my husband came in and saw me wearing clothes, he had the biggest smile on his face. He said, I have to go to Ross. I'll be back. And he came back with all sorts of shirts with ruffles and shorts that were easy to put on. Started stocking my drawers with clothes I could wear. I felt like it gave my healing journey a little boost. And from that point on, I never wanted to wear a hospital gown ever again. One of my biggest goals was to finally use the toilet. Whether this meant the commode or the toilet in the bathroom, which seemed such a long way off, I was doing my best every day to make sure my husband or the nurses weren't having to put a bedpan under me and clean me up afterwards. It was humiliating. So the day when I could finally sit up on my own and use several apparatuses to scoot over to the commode was another great day. Every day that I was healing was another day where my son was terrified to look at me. My husband would bring home good news to him and let him know the progress I had made, but the thought of seeing his mom the way that I was still terrifying. Among all the tests they needed to do once I got to the rehab center was a full evaluation of my leg at this point and see how it had healed. They could not put me in an MRI machine with the external fixator on because of the magnets, and so I would require another surgery getting it removed. The doctor was not able to do a full ortho exam because I couldn't bend my leg. The muscles had atrophied so badly. I would need extensive physical therapy to bend my leg to at least 110 degrees. I couldn't even stand on it. I didn't know how this was going to be possible and how long it was going to take. Eventually, at about 6 weeks after the calamity, my son was able to come in the room and look at me. I still hadn't seen my face at this point. I had been sheltered from mirrors to avoid overstimulation and stress. He cried. He said it was disgusting and scary, that I didn't look like his mom anymore. While all those things were hurtful to hear, I felt so bad for my child. I can't imagine what it would be like to be 11 and go through this. Eventually, I got to the point where I was able to get into a wheelchair and be wheeled into the bathroom. And again, through the use of several people and several apparati, I was able to stand and turn and use the toilet. This was such an exciting day. However, that was quickly altered when they were wheeling me out the bathroom, and I glanced over to see the mirror, and I saw my face for the first time. I looked so different. Growing up, I always thought my nose was too big, and so seeing it smaller was not what I thought it would be. My eyes were different sizes. The scarring was everywhere from my forehead to my chin. Seeing part of my lip missing and the damage to my teeth was truly heartbreaking. I now understood why my son felt the way he did. After my external fixator had been removed, physical therapy became the main focus. Every morning at 9 a.m., I was transferred into a wheelchair and taken over to the therapy gym.
Oh, look at you. Are you serious? Are you serious?
I did not know I would walk today.
I didn't know. I was like, you're way pretty. I'm like, you look pretty good.
I thought it's gonna happen like months later.
Gonna see how you're like. First time I know. I'm gonna be a hard shot.
Be nice, Christine.
I'm not gonna be harsh. I'm sorry.
The trach was so uncomfortable. I wanted it to come out so badly. It was very stiff and slightly too big in my throat, and so it would frequently touch the back of my throat. It felt like I always had something stuck. I kept asking when we could have it removed, and the answer was always, "We need to keep it in case you need another surgery." The wound from my open fracture on my left knee was not healing. It was turning black. The orthopedic team came in one day, and thank goodness I couldn't feel anything because all the nerves had been damaged. But I remember them elevating my leg and one surgeon grabbing the edge of the black tissue and ripping it off as hard as he could. My leg was bouncing around while other staff members were stabilizing it as he tore off the dead tissue. In order to help the wound heal properly, I would need a wound vac. I named it Billy, and after a week it had done its job. The wound was now healing properly. When I first heard my discharge date was going to be in December, I was so excited that I had lived and that I was going to get out of the hospital eventually. The longer I was in the rehab center, the farther and farther away it seemed. The massage therapist that would come in and do body work twice a week to help release trauma held in my body told me to look for the gifts in the situation. It was hard to imagine that there were any gifts in this situation. One day I asked my husband, "What are the gifts?" He didn't have an answer. The next morning, when I woke up, there was a message on my phone. He pointed out every good thing that had happened since July 13th. He said every day was a gift to him, and that no matter what, he would stay next to me through all of it. There was a beautiful rose garden outside the rehab center. My husband and son would take me out there, wheel me around, and we would smell all the roses. My son would push me around, play with me, while being as gentle as he could. When I was transferred into a gurney or into a wheelchair for treatments, my son would play with my bed, raise it up as high as he could, put it at all different angles. It was like he was familiarizing himself with the things that were helping me so he wouldn't be afraid of them anymore. The staff were more than supportive of this. They understood. Our son had always wanted to do homeschool, and other than COVID and having to do virtual homeschooling, which was a struggle to say the least for me and his dad, we had said no up until this point. But the more and more he asked about it, the more and more we thought it would be appropriate. Sending him to a new school in a new state with new teachers and new people to make friends with amidst this crisis, while he and his dad were living in a hotel and I was living in a hospital. It just felt like too much. And so we looked into homeschooling options and found a plethora of virtual homeschool options that already had curriculums set up. They had classroom time where the kids could play together and talk together online. It gave him socialization, but also an element of control in it. It gave us a lot of flexibility. On days that were too hard, we could schedule schoolwork to be done on another day when things were more tolerable and felt more safe. The rehab center had no shortage of therapy modalities for me to heal with. They had everything from painting to virtual reality. The biggest things, though, were the simplest. Learning to brush my hair, eating, looking for small objects in sand and picking them up, brushing my teeth, wiping myself. My body was healing faster than anybody had expected, and so my discharge date kept getting moved up, closer and closer and closer. Every time the discharge date moved up, I felt more alive.